Ladies and gentlemen, I believe it is once again time for us all to sit down together and have a very long, in-depth, and verbose discussion about some video games. However, today's a little bit of a different video, so first things first, let me just get this out of the way. This video was originally going to be 20 plus PlayStation 2 hidden gems, but by the time I started getting through my list and realizing some of these games probably don't fall into hidden gem territory, I decided we just more or less make this like, okay, these are some PS2 games you really gotta play because they're freaking gnarly, and you may or may not have heard of them before. Now, as you may have noticed from the title, today we are actually not alone. This video is a collaboration with one of my best friends and fellow content creators, that being DoubleT Game Hustle. And as they say, great minds think alike, because you may be wondering why these 3 games are relevant, and just You'll find out later. Don't worry, I have my own unique stack of 10 games. But anyway, I think we ought to go ahead and let our guest go first. So, DoubleT, I'm handing it off to you.
What is up, everyone? DoubleT here. And first off, I have to say thank you so much to Grotesque for inviting me onto his channel for this collaboration and sharing some PlayStation 2 games, which is one of my favorite consoles ever. And I know it's also one of his favorite consoles. So it's kind of the perfect video to collaborate on for us too. But just thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate it. You are one of the guys that inspired me to make my own YouTube channel, which I've enjoyed so much. So much to be thankful for, but I really appreciate it. And thank you to the viewers that are watching this for supporting Grotesque, because he is an awesome guy and he has an amazing channel. So without further ado, let's gush about some PS2 games. I do have 10 of them here. It was very hard to choose and pick out which ones I was going to share. But without, hopefully this video isn't going to be super long, because I know we can both gush about games for a long time. So anyways, here we go. Number 1 PlayStation 2 games that I'm going to recommend is going to be Soul Calibur 2. If you guys are into any kind of fighting games, 2D fighting games, anything like that, platformers, this is a great game. I really enjoy Soul Calibur 2, and for those of you guys that are fighting fans, you guys have probably played this and you know that this is top tier really when it comes to fighting games, especially in this generation. For the time that this came out, this is actually kind of insane what they were able to accomplish. So many amazing characters and stages in this game. So if you haven't tried it out, definitely give Soul Calibur 2 a try. Really fun game.
Man, what an awesome way to start the list. Soul Calibur 2, I remember on each platform, they each had like their own unique fighters. There was like Kratos on like PS2 or something like that, and then over on GameCube specifically, I remember you were able to play as like Link from The Legend of Zelda. That was like a great way to start off the list. Now, my first recommendation is going to be Spider-Man Web of Shadows Amazing Allies Edition. Now, this is very different from the typical Spider-Man Web of Shadows experience, right? Well, when you think of the Wii version, the Xbox 360, PC, PS3 version, it's this open world Spider-Man game very akin to like, say, the modern Spider-Man games made by Insomniac or like Spider-Man 2. But this one is very different. And this is also, this game also came out during the time where you could have one game with the same name, but it was like a completely different game depending on the platform you got it on. So on the DS, it was a Metroidvania. On the Xbox 360, PS3, it was what I just mentioned. And then here on the PS2, it's not exactly a Metroidvania like you got on the DS. This is more of like a 2D side-scrolling beat 'em up. There is some exploration in the levels. You can find new hidden abilities. You can, you can power up as the game goes on. It's sort of like an RPG. In between each level, you get these skill points that you can distribute into different attacks, unlocking new combos and moves and such. And given the name Amazing Allies Edition, you can also get new allies throughout the game. So you can get like Professor X and Wolverine to fight alongside you. Now, granted, it's not like you summon in an entire, NPC model to fight alongside you, but there's more or less just like this half opaque overlay that sort of like goes over the screen, acts like a screen wipe ability. And there's different abilities like that you can unlock throughout the game. And also, just one other thing I had to mention is that this cover art, dude, like I've said it before, this is one of the most gnarly cover arts in all of gaming history. One of my favorite cover arts of all time. So badass. DoubleT, it's back off to you.
The second one I am going to recommend, and I still have to get this little ugly sticker off of here, but it is Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition. Now, some of you guys might be like, really, a racing game? This is a this is a classic. If you've never played any of the Midnight Club games, they have a different vibe than just a regular racing game. Whether it comes to customizing your cars in the garages, just the atmosphere of the nighttime in the cities that you go in, police chases, everything that goes into this game is just really, really fun. The story's pretty cool. The little missions you have to do are cool. Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition, I have played so many hours of this when I was younger. I haven't gotten on it recently, so I definitely need to get back to it, but Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition is one I would definitely recommend. Amazing game.
Next up, I'm going to recommend Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. Now, this is yet again another game that is very different depending on the platform you get it on. If you get it on, say, like the GBA or the DS, you'll get a Turtles in Time-esque, that 2D pixel art beat 'em up, and it's very akin to say something like Streets of Rage, or again, Turtles in Time, or something like that of that day. But instead, when you get it on, say, PS2 or the original Xbox, you're getting something very much more akin to, say, Devil May Cry, Ninja Gaiden, or more specifically, God of War. Is it as difficult as those games? No. Is there just as much flexibility with the combos and the different lightsaber maneuvers? I would say in some ways there's actually more, because not only do you have your base level combos that are unique to each individual character, so say playing as Anakin versus playing as Yoda is two completely different experiences, but there's also different moves beyond that, right? You got the different lightsaber throws, you have different force abilities you can invest some points into, and just overall the gameplay loop is just so fun in this game. And one thing I've always loved is that while yes, it does follow the story for the most part, the movie tie-in games back in the day used to be made based off of a rough version of the script before the movie was actually fully complete. That's why, say, if you go play the Spider-Man tie-in games, there's some discrepancies between the game storylines and the movie storylines. Not just because, I mean, obviously the game storylines always had to be fleshed out a bit more just to account for the fact that it has to stretch out like a 2-hour movie into a 8+ hour video game, so they had to kind of insert some more villains. But sometimes there'd be certain changes in the story when you play the game compared to the movie, just because that's where the script was at that time, and that is most certainly the case here in the Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith video game. And once you beat the game, you actually unlock an alternate ending, which I won't spoil it if you haven't played it before, but it's not like a canonical ending. It's just like the most anticlimactic alternate ending ever. If you're just interested in seeing it, just go look up Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith game, like alternate ending or whatever. It's absolutely absurd, but this game is an absolute blast. I highly recommend it.
For my third recommendation, I am going to give Ratchet and Clank Going Commando. Now this is one of the few Ratchet and Clank games that I've played, but it is a really good game. It's a lot of fun. The stages are really cool, the different missions and different little story you go through. Even has some pretty cool cutscenes in this game. It's fairly cinematic, but for the time, this is just a beautiful game. Really fun. All the different little weapons you get to choose and craft. Just a cool story to go through, and if you have never played it and you like Ratchet and Clank, definitely give Going Commando a try. Yeah, can't recommend it enough. Great game. Also, the cover art is amazing. It has like the holographic, it's a holographic? Not sure if that's the right word, but a really cool cover. Love the cover art.
Next up, I'm going to go ahead and recommend Batman Vengeance. Ooh, that is an ugly GameStop sticker from back in the day. That's how you can tell that I've had this one for a while. Actually, my brother got this game. It's my younger brother. He's a good like 5-6 years younger than me. And he never ended up playing it that much. He played it like one time, and then I was like, well, hell, dude, if you're not going to play it, I'm going to play it. And I fell in love with it from the minute I first played it, because this is essentially... Wait, hold a minute. Oh, I just realized this game was published by Ubisoft. I didn't know that before. That's crazy, man. They had a whole different logo back then and everything. Dude, I forgot there was an Ubisoft before Far Cry and Assassin's Creed. I tried to get the sticker off and it just wasn't coming off. Anyway, this game is sort of a continuation or just a game that takes place in the Batman the Animated Series universe. Now, if you've never seen Batman the Animated Series, the cartoon from the 90s, you're missing out, plain and simple. But as you can tell from the cover art, it very unapologetically has that aesthetic. Like, when you start the game, it isn't just like, okay, we're trying to be a little realistic here because it's like a video game, flash the graphics. No, it is just like the most unapologetically cartoon inside of a video game as you can get. And the way that the cartoon models were transferred over to the 3D models for this were actually like perfectly done. Like, if I could imagine those models in 3D, this is exactly how you would see it. And you may have noticed that I'm not saying a whole lot about this game, and that's because it's how do I put this? It is very gameplay heavy, but it's also very story heavy, so there's not a whole lot I can say because there is like a few twists and turns that come throughout it. I will say that this is one of those games that really makes you feel like Batman. Not to sound too much like an IGN reviewer here, but you have all the different tools that you would expect playing as Batman, whether we're talking about like the grappling hook or, you know, the batarang or stuff like that. And there's a lot of cool environmental puzzles. Like, I remember the boss fight with Mr. Freeze specifically was very cool with the way you kind of had to use your equipment and work with the environment. That was a really cool boss fight. And just in general, man, between the aesthetics of the game and the gameplay, Batman Vengeance is absolutely fantastic, and I cannot recommend it enough.
The fourth game that I'm going to recommend on this list, this is a game that I just recently got, actually. Just recently picked up, but I've already played it and fell in love with it. It is a really cool game, and that is Nickelodeon's SpongeBob Atlantis Square Pantis, excuse me. This one is a really fun one to play through, and I know it came out on multiple platforms, including Nintendo DS, so I'm not sure if that version of it is any different or not, but the PS2 version is definitely really fun. Obviously, it's like in the setting of Atlantis. You get to play as many different characters in the SpongeBob universe, and just the missions you go through is really fun. You're driving tanks, you're driving a bus, you are platforming with Patrick and SpongeBob. It's a really cool game, really fun. And of course it actually has some really cool cutscenes, and the story is actually kind of intriguing. So it's not just your really basic run-of-the-mill like show tie-in or movie tie-in game. This is actually a pretty in-depth, really fun one. And I know a lot of people mention, when it comes to SpongeBob games, obviously Battle for Bikini Bottom is the game that most people would recommend, which is an amazing game. Of course, recommended. That is an awesome one. But this one is one that I think people sleep on. This might be a little bit more of a hidden gem than Battle for Bikini Bottom, which is known for being like PS2 and GameCube, like amazing game. So if you haven't tried this one out, definitely give it a try.
Well, here's the first instance of great minds thinking alike. I was literally gonna talk about this game, but that is okay. We're gonna put that one off to the side and instead talk about Disney's Extreme Skate Adventure. Now, this is actually very similar to a game coming up later in DoubleT Game Hustle's list, and that is due to the fact that this game runs on the exact same engine as one of the games that he's gonna mention later. Once he mentions it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, but basically, this is if Tony Hawk had Disney characters instead of Tony Hawk characters, and if it was all set inside of the Disney universe. This game is absolutely fantastic. I remember for the longest time, I had no idea that this game existed, and then back in like, I don't know, maybe 2009, 2010, 2011, somewhere in that vicinity, I just ended up randomly getting it for my PS2, and I mean, I'm so glad that I did, whether we're talking about skating around some of the jungle environments in The Lion King, or skating around Andy's room from Toy Story. You can play as like Simba, Buzz, Tarzan, all those other characters. This game is absolutely fantastic, and I've just always loved the way that the cover looks. You know, there's a lot of nostalgia to it. You flip it over, you can see like Woody skating up there. Sorry, I know the LED is really blinding, just gotta try to cover that for a minute. But yeah, this game has so much charm. Unfortunately, it has really gone up in price in recent years. It's not outrageously egregious, right? Like, you're not paying like Silent Hill $2 for this thing, but it's still gonna cost you a bit more than your traditional $10 to $20 PS2 game. So just keep that in mind, but I still highly recommend it.
The next one I'm going to recommend has a little bit of a special place in my heart, and that is Pac-Man World 2. Man, this one is a really fun platformer, 3D platformer that is, and it's a really fun game, man. There's so many cool mazes and levels in this game, and it does have a bit of difficulty. Don't think you're just going to breathe through this game. No, this game has some difficulty to it, and it is just a blast to play. I've played through it multiple times, but why I was mentioning that it's kind of a special place in my heart is because I picked this game up in high school at a mall, I remember, with some friends. I picked it up, played it a little bit, but didn't really get into it. And then in college, there were just some days where I was just so bored, and I ended up putting this in there, and I binged this game to completion in my college apartment room. So that was just a fun time. And I remember my roommate at the time, he was like, he remembered playing this game, but he couldn't beat one of the levels, and then I beat the full game, and he was like, no way you actually beat it. There's that really hard level. If you play this game, you might know what it is, but amazing game, man. If you guys have not played Pac-Man World 2, if you're a Pac-Man fan at all, or even if you're not and want to maybe try it out and get into it, definitely give Pac-Man World 2 a try. Amazing game.
Next up, I wanted to talk about a game that, this is probably the most hidden gemmy game here on the list, that being Naruto Uzumaki Chronicles. This game is a lot different from modern Naruto games because obviously, you know, we've seen a wide variety of Naruto games, whether we're talking about like Rise of Ninja or the Ultimate Ninja Storm games, for example. This game, man, where do I even begin talking about this game? I will talk about one of the coolest mechanics in this game, and that is the fact that you can actually play as different characters throughout it, and you can actually tag tag in different characters. Now, there is going to be some points throughout the story where you're just going to be playing as Naruto, but there is certain points where you can, like, say, tag in other characters, and there's a nice variety of missions in this game as well, right? Like, a lot of it is very combat driven. Like, if you look up gameplay of it, you'll immediately see it kind of has the Dragon Ball Budokai Tenkaichi kind of vibe to it, where it's like a 3D fighter. But this game is freaking awesome, man, and the combat truly is one of the highlights for me. You got all the iconic abilities in here, like you're able to do, you know, like the Shadow Clone Jutsu, so, you know, you're fighting somebody, and then you have like 1,000 Narutos just running in and just clowning all of your enemy. I absolutely adore this game, and this one actually goes for pretty cheap. I ended up picking this up for like $5-10 bucks, something like that on eBay a few years ago. I mean, I don't know if it's actually still that cheap, but when I bought it, it was. So yeah, I highly recommend this game. There's a lot of great anime games on the PS2. If you're ever looking for other recommendations, I'll just kind of toss some other ones out there. Dragon Ball Budokai Tenkaichi is one that everybody's going to tell you, but also just straight up Dragon Ball Budokai. You know, I put so much time into that first Budokai game. Absolutely love it. Cannot recommend it enough.
All right, the next game I'm going to recommend, and I don't know how well this game fits into this video. It's definitely not a hidden gem, but it's one I can't really make a PS2 list without mentioning. And Grotesque might be mentioning this one as well, because I know him. This is Resident Evil 4 on the PlayStation 2. And this game was the one, I played through it in 2024, last year, for the first time ever. And shout out to Grotesque once again, because he's the one that recommended this game so many times on his channel. It's his favorite game of all time, and I've known this is a great game. I've heard it from so many different creators and people in real life. Friends that have played it. I've known it's a good one. It was on my bucket list, and I finally played it, and honestly, this kind of opened my eyes to what the PS2 could actually be capable of and handle. So there is some more games that I want to check out because of this game, but I had never played a game like this on the PlayStation 2, and it's kind of hard to explain, but I just didn't understand that there were games like this on the PlayStation 2. It's an amazing story, amazing game, so fun to go through, but for some reason I just didn't realize that, you know, the PS2 could handle such in-depth games. And I know there's like JRPGs on PS2, and I just haven't tried any of them, so that's probably why. But amazing game, Resident Evil 4, of course, it's one of the best games of all time. So if you have not checked it out, don't know what you're really doing, but definitely give it a try.
Once again, the dual great minds strike again. You know what? I don't give a damn. I'm still gonna sit here and talk about this game. Resident Evil 4, like DoubleT Game also said, his copy is better, by the way. He has the black label. I have the fucking greatest hits copy, which that's alright. I'm gonna pick up a black label here soon. I've been saying that for years. I'm getting there. My original copy of this game was a black label, but now I got the greatest hits, because parents just had to get divorced, and my dad had to take the black copy, so now I just get the greatest hits. Anyway, Resident Evil 4, my favorite game of all time. The funniest part is that yesterday, I literally, at the time of recording this, I just texted DoubleT yesterday. I was like, hey dog, you wanna make a video? I was like, there's no timeline on this. You can take your time. And then he sends me the video later that evening, like he was ready to go. Love his work ethic, man. He's just like me. He's like, oh, there's something that needs done, I'm gonna get it done. But in the midst of that, I actually just started another playthrough of RE4 on my PS5, because I was like, you know what? It's been like, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 months. It's time for another RE4 playthrough. So I started up another playthrough of this game, and what can I say about Resident Evil 4 that hasn't been said before? The story is fantastic. You're Leon Kennedy going to save Ashley from this crazy cult called the Los Illuminados, and you know, the game takes you a bunch of crazy environments, whether we're talking about the opening village, which is one of the most iconic scenes in all of gaming, one of the most intense scenes in all of gaming. No matter how many thousands of times I beat this game, I'll still clench in my cheeks yesterday going through that part, man. Then you get to like the castle and then the island at the end, and that final boss is Sadler when you're like running up and stab him in the eyeball and everything. Resident Evil 4, man. Where is everyone going? Bingo. I love this game so much. But since he talked about it, we're going to talk about a different game instead. So even though I didn't say a full gush about that, we're instead going to talk about Sonic Riders Zero Gravity. Now, you've probably played or heard of Sonic Riders before, but not as many people have heard about Zero Gravity, because this game only released on like the PS2 and the Wii. It came out in like 2008, I want to say. I can't find a date on here for some reason, but yeah, like 2007, 2008, something like that. It was definitely a much later title. I don't think it ever got released on the 360 and the PS3. I'd have to double check that, but this game is so gnarly. It is very unapologetically 2000s. Basically, in this game, it's like a racing game, but different. You're kind of man, how do I even explain this game? You're not like surfing or skating or anything. You're on like these hoverboards basically. I mean, you know, the cover kind of like explains it, right? Like you got these hoverboards here. Really the draw for me in this game has always been the story mode, because don't get me wrong, the racing, whether you're playing alone or with your friends, that in itself is just like, you know, it's a fun gameplay loop, which, but the story, man, the story is just so good in this game. It's like you're playing through a Saturday morning cartoon or like an animated movie of sorts. Like the cutscenes are really well done, especially like the opening cinematic. Like just go look up the opening cinematic for this game, man. It looks absolutely insane. And the soundtrack for this game, man, it is so unapologetically 2000s. And I mean, if you know me, you know the 2000s is like my favorite era. Just take one look around my room. You got like the Slipknot posters on there, for example. You got like, well, Kurt Cobain, you know, it's technically like 90s, but you know what I mean. 90s/2000s. That is like, that's me, you know what I mean? And look up the song called Catch Me If You Can from this game. And once you hear that song, that will set the tone for the rest of the game. That's the kind of game that you're getting into, and I cannot recommend it enough. This game is fantastic.
Now, this next one is going to be one that most people definitely probably wouldn't think of when they think of like bangers on the PlayStation 2, and that is Hot Wheels Stunt Track Challenge. Now, I do know that this game came out on multiple platforms. It came out on Game Boy Advance, for instance, which I'm sure is a little bit different of a version. I believe it came out also on GameCube and Xbox as well. Maybe not Xbox, I'm not really sure. But this is a really fun game, and it's not just your basic Hot Wheels racing game. It's basically a movie set, and you are trying to get the scene for the movie. Going through each level is like almost a different scene for the movie. So that is really cool. There's also side missions and races in between, but it's definitely just like a little bit of a twist on a regular arcade racer that makes it really, really fun and just a cool game to play through. So whether it's going through the main story or just doing challenges versus races, this one is a great one to try, and one that I have a lot of time in, honestly. I actually did a full dedicated video on this on my channel. I don't think it was that popular of a video, but I love this game, so I did it anyway. Definitely check it out.
Next up, I'm going to go ahead and recommend Crash Nitro Kart. Now, a lot of people have played, you know, Crash Team Racing, and, you know, that's an iconic game. It's absolutely fantastic, and it most certainly deserved the remake that it got a few years ago. Sorry, I was panicking. I thought I heard the disc sliding around in here, but it was just the manual kind of going crazy. Anyway, this game is sort of like a spiritual successor, not necessarily a sequel, but a spiritual successor to Crash Team Racing. It's like, okay, what if we took that and put it on the next generation of consoles and really leaned into the kart racing aspect of things? That's what you get here with Crash Nitro Kart. It is the same, you know, formula that you got then. It's like Crash Bandicoot, but it's a kart racing game. You have an amazing story mode to play through with, you know, dedicated cutscenes and all the typical funny, quirky Crash humor that you would expect along the way. The gameplay is really tight, and since this was on a, what was at the time, next generation console, crazy that I'm old enough to remember when PS2 was next generation. Let's just not talk about that. But rather than, you know, the polygonal designs of, say, Crash Team Racing, yeah, I'm not dissing that, man. Y'all know I love my polygonal graphics more than anything. Lara Croft, triangles forever. Anyway, this game to this day still looks absolutely beautiful. As they say, art direction is forever, and this is definitely one of those cases of that. This game is still gorgeous. It plays fantastically, and if you haven't played it before, highly recommend it.
This one, I don't think I can mention this generation without mentioning this game, and there's multiple other games in this genre that are amazing on the PlayStation 2, but Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. This is the one that I probably sunk the most time in. There's quite a few Tony Hawk games, and as well as some other skateboarding games that are really good on the PlayStation, but this one in particular just has a little special place in my heart. I don't know why, but it is a really fun game. All the cool little story missions, and I grew up skateboarding. I skated all the time. I had a bunch of friends that skated. I was on the skate team in middle school. Yeah, my school actually had that, which is kind of cool, but really fun game. And just all the different boards you could get, different like tricks you can do and unlock, and just the level design was really cool in this game, and the different challenges you could do, really, really fun. So drop into the ultimate challenge. But anyways, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, if you haven't played it, definitely know that it is a banger. And I know that they've done the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake, and the 3 and 4 remake are coming soon. So definitely look forward to that if you don't have a PlayStation 2 and maybe want to play it on newer consoles as well.
And everybody was Kung Fu fighting! Okay, I promise I'll never do that again. Anyway, my next game recommendation is Kung Fu Panda. Now, this game was released on a myriad of consoles. We're talking DS, Wii, PlayStation 2, Xbox 360. In fact, I have it physically on my Xbox 360 as well. Like PS3, you know, this game was released on like every console under the sun, as you expect with all the licensed tie-in games of the day. And it was a different experience on some consoles, like on the DS, for example, it was like a 2D side-scroller. Oh, and one thing I actually wanted to reply to from earlier in the video, DoubleT Game Hustle mentioned he didn't know if the DS version was the same as this. Actually, no. The DS version is actually some people's favorite version of this game because, well, this game is much more reliant on, like, you know, different, like, mini-games and such throughout, whether we're talking about, like, the rhythm mini-games on the bus or just, you know, all the different things that you do throughout the game. The DS version is actually a 3D platformer, believe it or not. Yup, the one console that doesn't have any joysticks, that is the least powerful, that is a portable form factor where you'd expect it to be a, you know, less in-depth product. No, it's a full-blown 3D platformer with, like, a somewhat open-level design. It's crazy, but I know. But anyway, that just slightly going off track there just to talk about how different some games really were on some consoles. In Kung Fu Panda, this is a 3D action platformer. There is just as much punching, kicking, throwing, and belly slamming as there is jumping across different platforms. There's also some really cool QTEs in this game. Like, this is one of those games that really did QTEs right up there with, like, Resident Evil 4, for example, because the QTEs in Resident Evil 4 I always thought were just absolutely fantastic. It's such a novel concept of, like, oh, you think you're safe during this cutscene? No, bud, you put that controller down, you're dead. And this game's kind of the same way. You better do those QTEs. But this game has so much charm because not only does it retell the events of the Kung Fu Panda movie rather faithfully, it's basically one for one, but you also have all of these unique set pieces throughout the game that are unique to the game. And man, I don't even know, like, where do I even begin with this game? Do we talk about the combos and the different combos you can unlock throughout the game? So while yes, you start the game and it's relatively in-depth as it is, right? You know, you got your, like, your square, triangle combos you'd expect if you play any action beat 'em up like God of War, like the Star Wars game we mentioned earlier, where it's like, all right, you throw in a triangle here and there when you want to switch it up. But as the game goes on, you can unlock more complex combos. You can start picking up weapons and, like, bashing enemies in the face with, like, your bow staff. And then there's, like, different costumes you can get. Like, by the end of the game, you get, like, the Dragon Warrior outfit. And I remember me and my younger brother used to play the multiplayer in this. You could play as, like, Tai Lung going up against, like, you know, like Mantis. And even for the times where the game goes in its own direction and starts telling stories that aren't necessarily related to the movie, it still always finds its way back to the movie plot, and it actually all ties in so well that even if you haven't watched the movie before, you would just assume that it all belonged there. And I mean, like I don't, like, what else do I even say about this game? The fact that Jack Black reprised his role and also plays as Poe in this game, like, that's awesome. Seriously, if you haven't played Kung Fu Panda before, gets a top tier recommendation from me.
All right, I'm down to my final two recommendations, and this one is going to be one that Grotesque might mention this as well, but I'm going to go ahead and mention it, and that is Crash Twinsanity. And yes, again, he put me on this game because he's gushed about it on multiple videos. I think he has a whole series on his channel going over playthrough of this game. This is a really fun Crash game and probably the most underrated Crash game there is. I also have Crash Tag Team Racing, which is really fun, and Crash Nitro Kart, both amazing games. Crash Tag Team Racing is actually the one that I really grew up with playing. I picked this one up more recently, played through it. This game is great. It has so much charm to it, and it's just a different vibe for a Crash game. And I'm not gonna lie, I struggled to get through this game. It is not the easiest game, and it is not very forgiving when it comes to hitboxes and exactly, you know, where you're jumping during the platforming to land on stuff. It's not forgiving, but it's an amazing game, super fun. And thank you again for suggesting that to me. If you have not played Crash Twinsanity, amazing game. Can't really honestly rave enough about it, and I have a beautiful complete copy here. I didn't really show my complete copies. Most of these are complete. I think actually all of them, maybe but one, are complete in this stack. But anyways, play this game if you haven't, please. Even if you aren't a Crash fan, if you like 2D platformers, give this one a try.
The synchronicity of the great minds strike again. So I'm gonna put this one on the stack over here, and instead next we're going to talk about The Godfather the Game, which is a GTA-esque game that takes place during the Mafia era. You know, it goes through the events of the first movie. It is also worth noting that there is also a Godfather 2 game, which retells the events from the second game, and that is available on, like, PS3 and Xbox 360. And this game is actually also available on, like, Xbox 360, PS3, PC, and Wii. But, you know, obviously, so we're talking about PS2 games. This is the version that I went with here. But it switches it up in a few ways when retelling the events events of the first movie because you're able to create your own custom character from the beginning. His default name is Aldo, but you can, you know, name him whatever you want. And in some instances, like for example, when you have to go get the horse's head to put it in that guy's bed, not gonna spoil anything here, and then you wake up and he's like screaming and everything, rather than it just being the one character that goes to do it, you actually go along and you play through the entire thing of going to cut the horse's head off, sneaking through the mansion, watching guard while the one dude goes and like places it in the bed, and then, you know, you see the cutscene after the fact. So it puts you in the shoes of where other main characters would be at certain points and just sort of like changes up the way that the story develops in that way. And it is just so cool, like especially if you're a huge Godfather fan like I am, because I've always loved the Godfather movies. Playing through this game and just seeing what alterations they made is so cool. And also the gameplay is just so satisfying, right? Like this game has those insane executions where you can like run up, bash somebody in the face with a shotgun and then just like put the barrel right in their mouth and just blow their brains all over the floor. Or that one execution I love where you like run up to them and you like shoot them in the stomach and then they like lean down because they just got shot in the stomach, and then you put the pistol behind their head and just blow their brains all over the floor that way. Like, dude, this game is so gnarly. This is a game that I actually go back to replay at least once per year, if not twice per year. It's right up there with Resident Evil 4 as being one of those games that I just can't stop coming back to because I love it that much. Seriously, give this game a shot if you haven't before. It is so good. One of the best games on the PS2, hands down. Now, I know I just finished talking about The Godfather, and I should hand it off to DoubleT again, but here's the thing. He started the video, and I wanted him to, like, end the video since he's the guest, so I'm actually gonna do 2 in a row, so then we can go back to him, so then he can do the final recommendation, and then we just kind of end off the video there. So my final recommendation is going to be the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Now, I know most people are gonna, you know, when they think about 3D platformers, very similar to what DoubleT said earlier, most people are gonna be like, hey, Battle for Bikini Bottom, and, you know, there's a myriad of other SpongeBob video games released for the PS2, but I always felt like SpongeBob the movie game, I almost dropped it, bro. I can't even play that off. I totally almost dropped it. This game is sort of like a spiritual successor to Battle for Bikini Bottom. It runs on the exact same engine, and it just retells the events of the SpongeBob movie, and unlike a lot of the other ones we've talked about where it's like, oh, they go off to do their own thing, this one is basically one for one with the movie. It just takes everything from the movie and stretches it out to work in a video game, or, you know, to reach the length of a video game of like anywhere from like 4 to 8 hours, just depends on the pace that you go. I will say there is one slightly annoying thing in this game where sometimes you have to replay levels in order to complete certain challenges to get more like stars or whatever it was, or like spatulas or something like that to unlock the next section of the game. So that can be a little annoying sometimes, but if you're completing all the challenges as you go, it's really not a big deal. And if you're just good at the game, like just get good, then it's really not a big deal. But this game is absolutely fantastic. I love it so much. It has so much charm. Driving around in the paddy wagon is so much fun. The 3D platforming is on point, and yeah, this game is absolutely fantastic. But anyways, now I would like to hand it back off to DoubleT Game Hustle to give us our final PlayStation 2 game recommendation for the day.
All right, and for my last recommendation, I am going to give a sports game. And you're like, really, a sports game? Come on, there's so many shovelware sports games. No, hear me out. This one is different. Why was I going to say Tony Hawk's? NBA Street. This game is a different kind of sports game. Don't think your regular run-of-the-mill NBA 2K, especially from the PS2 generations. The 2K games, not even worth picking up, to be honest. But this game is really cool. All the different, the vibe and the music in this game is amazing. Also, the different move sets you can do. You're like jumping super high in the air, doing crazy dunks. Like, it's not like your realistic, ultra realistic basketball game. It is like you're doing like pickup games and you're doing some crazy move combinations, obviously that aren't realistic, jumping over people, dunking on them. It is just a really good time, really fun. Different things you can unlock in this game is really cool. Just definitely play it if you haven't. I know there's a 3-on-3 mode in this game. I don't know if there's any other modes. I don't remember because it's been a second since I played this game. Been a minute. But anyways, this is probably one of the funnest sports games I've ever played in my life, and I've played a couple. So NBA Street, the NBA Street 2 is also good, but NBA Street is the one I'm going to suggest here. Unfortunately, it's a greatest hits copy. A few of these games have been. I like to get the black labels, but anyways, that's just collector brain. Still an amazing game. Go check it out if you haven't. And with that, that is my last game of the 10 that I've recommended. And I know that all of them aren't necessarily hidden gems, but they're ones that are special to me and ones that I really wanted to mention for this video. So thank you so much again to Grotesque for giving me the blessing and honor of being able to be on your channel. and collaborate with you. This was a really cool experience, and I really enjoyed it. And I hope you guys get some good suggestions out of this, and let us know in the comments if you end up going to pick any of these up. Let us know what you guys think of these games. I would be really curious, and I'd love to start some conversations with you guys in that comment section as well. But thank you guys for having me. I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see y'all in the next one.
But anyways, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. That is 20 plus PlayStation 2 games that you need to play, or at the very least, really should play. Now, I know this was a really different type of video for me. I've always said in the past, like, oh, I just like doing solo content. But here's the thing, man. DoubleT Game also, he's the man. And I was sitting there thinking, and I was like, you know what? This would actually be a really fun video idea. And I'm not gonna lie, I've actually had this in the back of my mind for like almost a year now. Like, I've been thinking about doing it for a while, but I was just holding off until I really felt ready to, you know, really experiment and try something like that. So if you guys enjoyed this video, I would actually really like to make more videos like this in the future. This was a lot of fun to put together, and the fact that he got back to me so fast, literally sent me his video before the day was out, that was just freaking amazing. Love your work ethic, brother. But anyways, yeah, this video's been going on for a bit now, so I think we'll go ahead and roll the outro. But anyways, always massive shout out to all the patrons and channel members. Thank you to all you in the low baller tier, and an even bigger shout out to the ball tier, Last King, MB Daddy Manny, and the big shout out to detail run of us on the cheese roll. Thank you guys so much, guys. Literal legends. I love you. Karoni, Dodaki, Arigato gozaimasu. Have an amazing day. Stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.